Hey gang, welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. Today's video is part 31 in the Cobra Jet, also known as Slither project. You may see a little difference in the camera. I had to change out the lens because I've got so many weld sparks on the lens that it was starting to cause problems. So I fixed that, and I want to show you what's going on with the project. Now, in the last video I was working on the seat divider here, and I showed you what I did to make that fit and also to make the brackets fit. They're going to support it on the mini tubs, right? Well, as I move forward with that, I wanted to do some other stuff in preparation for getting the quarters on for the last time. I took the grinder, my 4.5-inch Bauer grinder, and I did some grinding, and I'm going to do a little sequence here. I don't know how long this is going to last, but I want to show you the areas that I was grinding, and I'm trying to smooth up all those areas because eventually I'm going to put seam sealer in those as well, at least in the gaps around where the mini tubs meet. I want to make that look nice and smooth. I will also put sealer on top of the brackets where the bumper mounts are, because the factory would have done something very similar to that. So I'm doing all of that. I'm grinding and I'm smoothing and just trying to make sure everything is welded in the way it should be. Now what I'm going to do is move forward on that and take everything back off. I'm going to take the quarters off, I'm going to take the seat divider off, all are out of the place, and show you an issue that I found that it's been bothering me for a little while now. Let me show you something I found and the reason that I'm going to fix it. Okay, as you've seen, I've had the quarters on this car. I've had them off and on multiple times. And I will say again, the passenger side, everything fit really nice. I'm very happy with all of that. I'm actually, really happy with the whole project, honestly. But I noticed something on this driver's side that has been bothering me for quite some time. Whenever I put the quarter panel on, right here, it struggles to fit. And there is some other things that I pointed out in previous videos, that these dynacorn panels are well made, but they may not be exactly the way they should be. And what I mean by that is there's some measurements that I found from side to side, again in an older video, that things aren't symmetrical. And to me, symmetry matters whenever you're doing stuff like this. So if I come to this side and I put the quarter panel on, it fits very nice. I want to show you something right here. This hump, now I'm assuming that was a factory design, and that hump is meant to hold the quarter in place. As you can see, I've knocked the paint off from where I've put it on and taken it off. Now if you measure that distance, roughly, that's about maybe 3/4 of an inch from the inside of that radius to the edge of this flange. So that's a pretty good distance. And when I come to the other side, what I find is that distance is not anywhere near the same. In fact, it's less than 1/2 inch. Now what that means is, whenever I go to put that quarter on, it's trying to fight this and doesn't want to drop down in like it should. So what does that mean? Well, it means I'm going to have to redesign this. The reason I want to do this, I've kind of forced that quarter to slide over this, and it's just not right. It messes up the shape a little, and it makes the alignment with the roof a little off as well. So one way or another, I'm probably going to either cut this loose and move the whole thing outboard a little bit, or I could cut it here and just move this piece back a little bit and then make a filler. But I haven't quite decided exactly how I'm going to fix that yet. But I want to move at least this piece outboard so that the quarter can sit on the way it's supposed to. Now that I'm happy with how everything is fitting, I'm using a Scotch-Brite pad to scuff up the inside of the quarter panels. I want to make sure they're ready for primer and paint after they're installed. I'm also going to mark up all the locations for the spot welds, and I'll be using the punch tool that I bought off of Amazon. There will be a link in the description below. I really like this tool. It does a great job, and some of these locations I won't be able to actually use the tool, and I will have to use a drill to make some of them, just because there's not enough edge distance. But this thing does a fantastic job. Most of my measurements are just eyeball, but I will say they're averaging about 1.5 inches spacing between. Here I am setting up the deck filler for all the holes I will be putting in it as well. And again, this tool has a great advantage in that it can reach around that upward flange, and also it has a deep throat to where you can kind of go a little deeper into the sheet metal if you have an area that maybe it has it's not right on the edge. These are the boomerangs. I have punched the holes in those, and also the brackets that I need for the trunk support. Now you can see I'm drilling some of these holes because there's not enough edge distance. Same way here. This little part of the flange is not deep enough for that tool to operate. So I will use a 5/16 drill, and then I'll come back with a step drill, step that up a little bit, make sure the size is good, and then of course grind off any of the high metal so that everything is ready to be welded. Don't forget the drop-off panel. Just saying. So I'm really close to being able to weld everything in place. Again, I'm verifying that I have everything test fitted properly. I've been making all the holes in areas that it's going to be welded. So inside of the wheel arch there, all those holes are prepped. I also installed or replaced the little bracket that goes inside here. Make sure you put that in before you put this quarter on, because you won't be able to afterwards. So I will be welding this in first, and also welding it down here to the inner structure. This was a little more difficult to get in than I had hoped. So I clamped it in place, and then when I brought the quarter up, this didn't want to fit quite right. So I had to take a mallet and just tap this slightly, and this rolled over fine. So you can see it fits really tight and really nice. I also punched holes in the flange where it meets the B-pillar. And I'll point this out. There was a little bit of gap down here at the bottom. You know, when I put these B-pillars in, your mind tells you that it's perfect. It should be stamped out just right. And it is, really. However, when I welded them in, there's a little tab on the bottom. Let me show you on the driver's side. So there's two tabs. There's one here and one here. And I had left this thing sit kind of neutral and welded it in. But then when I started looking at the quarter a little more, I realized, well, there's a gap between the face of the flange and this inner structure, this B-pillar. So what I did is I cut that loose. And that allowed this to move forward slightly. And now I have basically on both sides a zero gap at the quarter mating flange. So once that is in, and I welded in a quarter, and I welded the flange here where the quarter sits, I can come back in and just put a little weld right there, and it's good to go. Okay, I have everything fitted the way that I want it to fit, or at least the best that I can get it to fit. So everything is clamped, got some screws holding some of the parts in place, and all the holes are prepped, so you can see all that. Everything is lining up really well. I'm very happy with how it all looks. I mean, that's all spot on. This is on the flange where the wheelhouse meets the quarter. It's all good. Down here I have all of this lined up the way it should be. Same way on this side. So I got a lot of welding to do. Now I will say, comparatively between the two sides, the passenger side fits almost perfect. You know, I've had some struggle with the driver side, and again, I pointed this out before. I think Dynacorn messed up when they made that inner structure, and it kind of tweaks things off just a little bit. And just to emphasize that, if you look at that overlap right there, okay, you can see that that side is back away from that section of the well, where the window would be, and overall that should be forward slightly. And what that does, it throws off everything else, and you have to adjust and tweak for that. As I pointed out, this seat divider, I had that little tab up there, and I found that it was hitting the inside of the opening. On this side, it fits perfect, but over here it was hitting, so I had to, you know, manipulate it to get it to move forward some. If I show you the other side now, and again we'll look at that same spot, see how that's nice and tight? That side is put together correctly. Now, what's going on with their jig system, I have no idea, but I can tell you that even that little bit of difference affects everything else, and you have to massage pieces to get them just right. Now I have measured, my drop is identical within millimeters, 31 and about 1/8, and I compared that to the measurements on the original car, and I also had some measurements that I took from another original car, and that one is 31 and 5/16. On my Mach 1 it's 31 and 1/8, so there's a huge difference in that space. You can really manipulate that a lot. And then of course your trim expands slightly, you know, it overlaps. So I think having it more accurate to 31 and 1/8, matching up to the original car I have in the back, is much better. So at this point I'm going to start welding. Yep, lots to do. I've been pretty busy the last couple days, and everything is welded on. At least everything that I wanted to have welded on. So the quarters, the deck filler, seat divider, everything is welded, full perimeter all the way around. I did blend some of the welds, but in most cases you can see they are still the regular weld. Of course I did the seams or the overlaps for the flanges there. There's the deck filler. And then up here I welded this to the inner structure and ground these down because the roof will be sitting on top of that. Here's the welds on the inside of, I guess, the boomerang area, let's say. So there's that. Welds here. All the welds there. Welded on the inside. It's got an echo to it now. And of course, all the welds on the wheel arch. I did a few more welds up here while I was in the area on the mini tub. I did have just short kind of welds up here, so I'm making these about 1 inch long. I still don't know if I want to weld that full distance or if I'm just going to leave it like that, grind it down, and then seam seal it. There's really no gain to it because it is fully welded on the intersection there, and of course everything else is fully welded. And then I also welded in my plates that I made. I have all the welds. Let's get the camera angle. That inner structure piece, and then up there where the filler piece meets the inside of the quarter. So everything is welded. Now, at this point, what I want to do, besides grind a lot of welds, I want to also set the roof back in place and just make sure everything is going to fit like it should. I still have to weld in the latch holder that goes behind the fuel opening there, and I want to set the deck lid on and get a look at that. It's going to fit just fine. I already know that. There may be some tweaking I need to do to the deck lid itself. I noticed when I set it on there, it was sitting up on one corner, and I pointed this out before. Anytime you're using these aftermarket panels, sometimes you have to twist them a little bit and then tack weld the perimeter to make sure they stay in that shape. So I'll set that up on there, and we'll take a look at that as well. So I set the roof down in place. It's fitting very nice. Here's the deck lid. And I've done some stuff on this before. It's really hard to get this to sit the way it's supposed to without the seal in it. But everything is lining up just like I planned it to. So hopefully that all works out. Same thing over here. There is a little bit of a difference on this edge. And what I noticed was the factory deck lid seemed to fit a little bit better. Of course, that's the one over there that's rusted to pieces. So I may have to do something on this edge. I haven't decided exactly what. You know, these stampings are pretty good. I mean, I feel like they're straight like they should be. But if I have to do any modifications, I will. And sometimes that may involve welding just a little bit of material on this edge and then regrinding it to make it match. Or it could mean adjusting this gap. So there's a couple ways to look at it. I can see there's some room, not much, if I were to move that, because I'll run out of room on the outside. But I'll have to figure that out. So that'll come later on. I'm not worried about any of that. It'll all work out just fine. But I'm very happy with where it's at this point. Also, I think what I'll probably end up doing once I get the roof on is I'll turn it around and get back to work on the front end, because I have to put in the aprons, the core support, the braces that hold the strut rods, and the lower control arms, you know, those angle pieces. Those need to be put in, and then clean up the rest of it. And I don't know, once I get that done, I will do some serious test fitting of doors and fenders and all that sort of thing. Alright, that'll be the end of this video. Now, I can tell you that I'm very happy with the results. I'm also happy that I don't have parts sitting around on stands, taking up space, run the risk of getting knocked over. Now that they're on the car, ta-da! It's solid and ready to go. So, just a relief. Just really is a relief. Of course, as I said, I will have other things to do. I got to get the roof on. I've got to start doing the front end, get all that taken care of, and obviously there'll be more videos on that stuff as I move forward. But I really am looking forward to getting the doors on the car, getting the fenders on the car, and really seeing how everything is going to interact. There's always the risk of something being slightly off, and of course, if there is, I'll have to adjust and make it work like I always do. But anyway, I want to thank you for watching. I especially want to thank my patrons. You know, I can't say enough about them supporting me and helping me to continue to make these videos. It helps keep the lights on, it helps keep me fed, and I really do appreciate them so much. If you're interested in becoming a patron, there is a link in the description below. You can click on that. I also have links for other products that I have used, like the Arc Captain welder. I have a link for Evolution power tools that I use. There's an Amazon page link. So any of those things will help me out if you use those links. So keep that in mind as well. Otherwise, that will be the end. And until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.